Hello, this is your King Red's Power, and I'm finally back at the reviewing station, and I'm not just back, Voltron's back with Season 2, now streaming on Netflix a day early, and I've watched a couple of episodes, and it's just as good as it was for Season 1. I look so forward to seeing the rest of this season very shortly. Anyway, not only is Voltron the cartoon back, but so is the reviews here at the reviewing station, so now let's talk about Ultimate Voltron, which is a 14-inch action figure, fully posable, as it's basically promoting here, ultimate posability. This figure, on the other hand, when compared to its counterpart, which is the Legendary Series Voltron action figure, does not have the capability of disassembling from Voltron into the 5 lions. So that might be a bit of a drawback, but having said that, this is a very posable and very screen accurate, as best as it can get, Voltron action figure in toy form. So let's go ahead and take a look at the box before we get to the actual figure itself. So here is the front, not to waste your time. Let's go ahead and flip it onto the back. And as you can see, we got some promotion stuff here. We got the look at the prototype action figure here with all that battle damage, which we will get to very shortly. It is a common thing. So there's that. 15 plus phrases and sound effects. Lights up. Ultimate posability, ultimate Voltron, fire the green lion's lasers, and down here, as you can see, I was not lying, it actually says it does not disassemble into the core lions, and here's PlaymatesToys.com, there's Voltron.com, and there goes the box. And with the box out of the way, let's bring in the action figure at hand, which is a big boy, very big. Just almost as big as the actual Legendary Series Voltron action figure, which I'm going to go ahead and throw up here. And by throw up, I don't mean I'm going to hurl, I mean I'm going to bring in the original figure that I reviewed, who's having a little difficulty standing up. I don't know what that is, but whatever. And as you can see, I can't even get him all in picture, so he's that big. I mean, he's 16 inches, and this Voltron's 14 inches. He's 2 inches off, but there's a big difference. There really is. So let's bring in the measurement here. So, as you can see, 14 inches for the Ultimate Voltron, and 16 inches for the Legendary Series Voltron action figure. So that's basically that right there. So let's go ahead and put this Voltron away, because he's had his review in the spotlight of the reviewing station. So let's go ahead and take a look at the new Voltron figure. Kinda. It came out around the same time as the Legendary Series Voltron, so not much difference, except that this one does not disassemble. But having said that, that's not a drawback, because this one is as close as cartoon accurate that they can come. I mean, that is some good proportions going on there. It's very accurate, and might I add, the articulation on this figure is a lot better than what it is with the Legendary Series Voltron figure. But having said that, there is one little nitpick that I do have to address about this figure in its articulation when compared to the actual Legendary Series Voltron figure, and we'll get to that when we talk about the articulation. But for now, I just want you to take a moment to breathe easy and have a nice look at everything that's being offered here on this Voltron figure. And yeah, that will be one of the nitpicks that we are going to have a look at in just a moment. This figure is top heavy, unfortunately. You can work with the legs, you can get him to stand just fine. As you can see right here, I got my hand behind the wall, see? Or actually in front of the wall. So Voltron's not touching it right now, so he's standing just fine. Just fine, it's okay. He's not going to fall again. Let's talk about his only accessory that he comes with, which is the blazing sword. It is one single molded piece in clear plastic, just painted over at the handle, and the rest of it going upward. So what you can do is, like the other Voltron figures, you can put it in the Red Lion's mouth, and there you go. Now he's wielding his blazing sword into combat. Unfortunately, this Voltron, just like the Legendary Series 1, does not have the capability of taking the wings to forming the shield. Now, originally, I thought these wings here were actually the same wings for the Legendary Series Voltron figure, and that's actually not the case, because as I will show you in just a moment when I get this figure standing just right, so I can go back behind myself and pull one of the wings on the Legendary Series Black Lion, which you can do. I did prove it in a video. Here it is right here, and here's the actual wings for the Ultimate Voltron, and as you can see, there's a difference, not just with the paint apps, actually the whole scale about this thing. This one's actually bigger and longer, and this one's a little smaller, but if you wanted to, the peg system basically looks the same. What you can do is clip it into place, and as you can see, it works just fine, if you wanted to. It is the same thing with the Legendary Series Voltron. If you wanted to take the wings from the Ultimate Voltron and just apply them onto that Voltron, you can do so. It is the same system, even if it's not the same scale. And it might make a little bit of a difference with the top heaviness on this Voltron figure, but I mean, that's something I'm not going to test right now. I just want to get this review out of the way. But once again, there's your look at the wings from the front to the back. Not much of a difference, except that this bit here is unpainted, and this one here for the Ultimate Voltron is actually painted silver. Whatever. So, there you have that. Let me go ahead and put the wings back on. So there's that. And now that we got that out of the way, let me just remove the sword. You will notice on my Red Lion action figure, while it is actually a spring feature to keep its mouth closed, it's kind of jammed on mine. Sometimes it will close. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes it will actually stay open, but, you know, that's a difference between my quality of the figure and your quality will be different. Results will be varied, but I will say this. At least now I can pose both the arm lions here with their mouths open, something that maybe you can or cannot do. So, Ultimate poseable Voltron action figure. He's loaded to the teeth in articulation, except for one little nitpick, which I will address very shortly. So, with that said, he does actually have, as you can see, a swivel cut at the head. Yay! Yes, it was needed. It was needed on the Legendary Series Voltron, and I really was thinking about modifying my Voltron figure to give him head articulation, but since I've got this figure now, who's supposed to have articulation as everywhere as it can come, I really don't feel the urge to want to customize my Legendary Series Voltron figure now, so this works out just fine. Hey, everybody wins. So yeah, swivel joint. There's also a hinge joint for up and down movement. There's actually not just articulation, there's actually electronics inside the neck and to the head of Voltron here. But the fact that he can still have an articulated head is a miracle. I love it. So anyway, he does have universal shoulder joints on some tight ratchets, and they do go around complete 360 without any hindrance. There's a bicep swivel on both lions on ratcheting joints, even though they're kind of weak. He does have 90-degree elbow joints with nice ratcheting systems here. The wrists do rotate, at least on the Red Lion figure. So the Green Lion here, on the other hand, because of some action feature that's been involved here, I'll explain it in a little bit, but it does not allow any wrist rotation for the left arm of Voltron. No waist rotation, obviously, because of the electronics being here. We do have some nice clicking joints forward and back at the legs. It's just about as identical as it comes with the Legendary Series Voltron action figure, except the Legendary one cannot get his legs to display that far out on the sides. That is cool. I love that. There's thigh rotation, complete rotation, might I add, on tight ratchets. And now for the nitpick. This is all you get out of the knees. Now on the Legendary Series Voltron action figure, as I did show off in this review, you get double jointed knees. This is only single jointed. At least you do get 90 degrees posing out of it, but you know, I feel like it kind of got cheated here, but whatever. The last portion of articulation comes actually at the feet. You do have a hinge joint for up and down movement. You do have a beautiful ankle rocker pivot that goes pretty far, might I add, to keep his feet on the ground all the time. Not just that, if you lower the hinge joint a little bit more, you will notice that on both the blue lion and the yellow lion, there is toe articulation. I was not expecting that at all. Now, if you do not have the legs positioned right, or should I say the feet, Voltron will fall over very easily. But so far, he's doing a pretty good job here. I'll go ahead and address that the shield is not removable on the shoulder here. So, you know, I wouldn't try and force it off of the Green Lion, because if you try, you might actually break it, even though it is now rotating. So I'm kind of curious, but I better stop there because I really don't think it's going to come off. having said that, anyway, let's go back to the articulation because we're not done there. There's actually a little bit more, and that's got to do with the wings. So turning to the side here so you can see all this. It is as exactly identical as the Legendary Series Voltron with some nice rotation there. A nice hinge joint here on ratchets. There's a hinge joint here on the wings itself. So yeah, it's basically got the same amount of play as it does on the other Voltron figure. So there you have that. And that's basically it for posing Voltron here. I mean, you do have quite the load of articulation, which is why it's considered the ultimate Voltron. It is a very, very cool Voltron action figure. I also gotta mention that, yes, the whole waist assembly here is actually painted completely all around. The Legendary Series Voltron figure is not painted on the back, so that's a nice touch, and I do appreciate that. You know, the battle damage that's going on here with this figure, I gotta address this right now before I forget. It's okay. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but for me, it kind of makes this figure look really good. Anyway, with that said, let's go ahead and play with Voltron a little bit with the electronics. So, his chest will light up, his eyes will light up, his sides here, while they're not painted, it makes up for it on the LED system because they actually light up as well. His face kind of lights up a little bit, but it's not as bad as some of those other toys where it's bleeding through the face sculpt. So, with that said, the button is right here. It's not on the side, so you're not going to play with it. I mean, you're not going to touch it in any way unless you go around this section. So, let's go ahead and let's listen to some of these sounds, shall we?
Form Voltron! Lance, Huck, give me full reverse thrusters! Let's cut the Gara down to size. We are Voltron! Systems compromised. Let's light this thing up. Fire lasers! Let's do it! Key, forward sword! Hold it right there! Now, we will destroy you. I'll make him back off. Guys, hang on! Let's see if I can freeze these guys. Now we go on the offensive. You dropped a sonic boom on him! Pitch, form shield, form Voltron!
I think that's basically it, so let's go ahead and cut him off. That would sound like more than 15, but I really wasn't keeping count. So anyway, as you can see, he had a lot that was going on from this top portion here. His torso and his head had all the electronic sounds and light up features that you could basically ask for. It's pretty cool. There are a few nitpicks about this figure, not just with the battle damage. I've got no problem with the battle damage, as I mentioned earlier, but the paint job on this figure is kind of sloppy, at least on my figure. Your results could be different. The gold is sloppy here. The gold on top of his head where the horns are is sloppy. Heck, some of the faces on the lions are sloppy. The waistline, it looks like it was hand painted. It doesn't look like it was sprayed on, so that's very sloppy as well. It's not just the battle damage. I'm talking about all around. You will notice that there is like some smearing going on, like fingerprints as well, so it's sloppy there. It's not the best of a paint job, but for what it has to offer, it's not bad at all. And it does kind of work with the battle damage thing going on here. So I'm not really complaining much about this figure. And I also did notice that the yellow lion and blue lion's heads, or, you know, at least the nose to the lions, are not painted. I can take care of that myself. I'll do that even after this video review because, I mean, it's definitely noticeable and kind of an eyesore, at least to me. But everything else seems to be pretty clean. I mean, I do miss the black outlines for the lion's eyes, so that might be something I might touch up, but probably not. Maybe just the noses. But other than that, there's not much else to really say about this Voltron except that, I mean, if you really have to pick one, do you go with the one that has the 5 lions that can combine into the Voltron action figure? Or do you go with the ultimate poseable one? Well, given the choice between the two, like I said, I had to have both, but when it really comes down to it, I gotta say it's hard, but I'm gonna try and say it. I still gotta go with the Legendary Series Voltron, just because the 5 lions can combine and disassemble. I mean, that's more of a play feature, and the whole purpose about Voltron, I mean, he is a giant robot made out of 5 lions. This, on the other hand, may be the 5 lions, but it's a giant robot that cannot disassemble, even though it does have full-on articulation that makes the other Voltron figure look the same. But, you know, outside of just the head articulation going on here for this guy, I gotta say, articulation is just about one and the same with the Legendary Series Voltron, except that the ankle rocker system for the blue lion and the yellow lion works a lot better. It's quite the improvement. And there is one other thing I forgot to go through, so I'm not closing out just yet. Let's go ahead and get to it. There is actually another action feature to this toy. Basically, it's got to do with the green lion. Like I said earlier, it doesn't have any wrist rotation, which would be the head itself, because of the play feature that goes on here. There's this button right here on the side where the arms actually would go into the body, like in the cartoon. Even though it's not there, it's now a button system, so what you do is press down on it, and you will notice that the green lion's mouth just opened, because obviously if you look in here, there's actually a missile. So, like all missiles to any kind of weapon, you can press the button down here and fire it off. And it doesn't go too far, but it's still got pretty much a nice powerful effect, and I'm sure it can knock over some Transformers in here very easily, even though I just lost the missile. But as you can see, I'll show this off again. It opens up first. That's a nice touch, but then when you press down on it pretty hard, the missile would actually fire, but sometimes it can get caught in between the mouth here, and it won't fire at all. That's happened a couple of times, but most of the time, it works just fine on my figure. Even if the paint job's not really that best, at least the missile firing gimmick does work. So I didn't have to go and fix that problem up like I did with the Legendary Series Green Lion, unfortunately. But having said that, that's just one other touch to be addressed. So anyway, that's basically the review of the Ultimate Voltron action figure. He is freaking sweet. They're both freaking sweet, but like I said, if it came down to one, you just gotta go with the Legendary Series. It has more to offer in play value, and the transformation is fun. I mean, it's hours of play, if not days of play, because I'm still messing around with that action figure. I just really wish he had head articulation. This one makes up for it, and it makes me feel a lot more cozy now with both Voltron figures. One to display as my core 5 lions, and one to actually pose in display with the lions behind it. So, you know, freaking sweet. A+ in all ranks. I definitely got to say it's well worth picking up. If you can afford both, get both. If you can't afford both, well then you know what to go for. So, questions, comments, you know what to do. Hit it down below in the comment section of this video. If you like today's video review, hit that thumbs up button. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to see other video reviews from yours truly here at the reviewing station in either elongated form or concise form. So anyway, with that said, this is your King Red is Power signing off, saying thank you very much for watching this, and I will see you whenever you see me.